Hey everybody, time for a quick look inside Vancouver Public Schools. I'm Nick Vole. And actually this one might not be so quick. We are answering your questions about the bond measure, which is in the hands of voters on Tuesday. It would build new schools to keep up with population shifts, rebuild schools for outdated buildings, and include updates for every other school in the district. And let's go ahead and start with the easiest question. It comes to us on Twitter from Michelle Wallert, who wants to know where she can get information online about the bond measure. That one is really simple. It's vansd.org/reschools. There's detailed information on each project, costs, and the timeline. On Twitter, Jared Krulish asks, aren't buildings supposed to last for longer than 50 years? He asks that because buildings that will be torn down and rebuilt have a median age of over 50 years. Jared, the state's guidelines for building is actually 30 years. VPS aims for 50. If the cost of remodeling is 80% of the cost of replacing the school, it's considered best practice to just do a replacement because new construction equals a 40% longer building lifespan on average. Our next question is from Don Charles Steinke on Facebook. He says, I support the bond measure, but district officials need to stop thinking they have no role to play in addressing climate change. We don't need to wait until Congress tells us what to do. Emissions reductions need to happen across all sectors of society. Don, district officials do take climate change seriously, and all buildings will be designed and built to a high performance or green standard. In fact, all Washington state-funded major facility projects follow those guidelines. Plans for individual buildings will be confirmed as the designs are completed by architects and district leaders. This next one was submitted by Dana Gilmore on Facebook, and it's about finances. Dana says, What does this bond issue, if borrowed all at once, do towards any potential rating downgrade for Vancouver, possibly crowding out other borrowing? Interest rates already up. What's forecasted rate upon approval? Does Vancouver currently have a rating of AAA? Dana, let's go through your questions one by one. First, the bonds would be issued over 4 years, not all at once, to match cash flow needs. The IRS limits issuing bonds too far in advance. Second, according to Moody's, the district's current debt burden is, quote, exceptionally light, which means it's unlikely that the bond will lower our rating. Third, while interest rates are slightly up from their bottom last summer, they're still low compared to rates from the last 20 years. The forecasted rate over the next 4 years of bonds would be approximately 4.10%, which is less than the average of 4.18 over the last 10 years, and much lower than the high, which was 6.01%. Finally, the district's credit rating, according to Moody's, is AA2, which is higher than the median rating of AA3 for school districts nationwide. It's in good financial position to take on these bonds. We've also gotten a number of questions via email and the phone, and let's run through some of those quickly. Would the replacement schools be built on the same lot? Yes. Plans vary at each site, but replacements will go up on the same district-owned property. Where would the new elementary schools be located? One would go in the downtown area to keep up with the large number of new apartments and homes planned for construction there. The other would go in near Sarah J. Anderson Elementary School to ease overcrowding. What is the cost per $1,000 of assessed property value? It would be an increase of 9 cents per $1,000, which for a home worth $225,000 works out to be about $20 a year. Why do we have to fix or replace roofs on newer buildings? First, it's important to remember that the last major round of building construction began in 2001, 16 years ago. Think about everything that's happened in that time. The majority of our students weren't even born yet. Although our maintenance team does a fantastic job of keeping our buildings in tip-top shape, roofs need repairs periodically, and older roofs need replacements. It's just like your house. And our final question is not one we've gotten directly on social media, but we have heard it from community members. At $458 million, why such a large bond? Beyond the financial savings we talked about a moment ago, where delaying would likely raise the overall cost, the reason the bond is that size is because it includes every school in the district. That's 37 in all, plus 2 stadiums, 3 new school facilities, and other modernization projects at support facilities. Virtually every district property will see improvements, which will benefit every neighborhood in the district. Thank you to all of you for your questions, and don't forget to vote by February 14th, this Tuesday. Of course, if you have more questions, you can always ask on our social media platforms. That's going to be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Until next time, I'm Nick Vole.